being able to start a garden because of limited space is a limited belief. Over the years, I've been able to start gardens in unlit rooms, patios, cabinets, all because of the 3 steps or tips that I'm going to share with you today. So let's get started. The first step is going to be to actually choose a space. Make a decision. I don't care if it's a cabinet, a closet, under your desk, a corner. It's important for you to just make the decision to say, hey, I want this over here and I'm going to start a garden, period. So once you decide on the space that you want to use, take some time to assess what it could be missing and the things that you're going to need to add so that you can grow plants. And I'll get into that a little later. But the main thing that I want you to know now, and this is super helpful, if you don't have space to grow outwards, grow upwards, go vertical, shelving, whatever it is, figure out a way. Next step is to actually decide on what you want to grow. Don't grow something that you don't like. If you don't like cauliflower, don't spend your time trying to grow cauliflower. Make sure what you're growing is something that's practical and something personal to you that will be rewarding in the end. If you're a chef that likes to use special seasoning, grow special herbs and spices. The choice is up to you. My advice, if you're a beginner, start with leafy greens and herbs and spices. Those are going to be the easier things to grow. And it's important for you to get a W as soon as possible. It's all about winning. You can always improvise, add more things, change things up and grow other things later. But my goal for you today is to get you growing immediately or as soon as possible. Now, the last step is going to be to understand and provide the plant needs in this space that you chose. So there are 4 things that I'm going to highlight here. So the first thing is going to be water. And this is where a lot of people drop the ball, especially beginners. I still drop the ball with this today. And the solution that I found is building systems. It's okay if you're not consistent with watering your plants. We're humans. Things happen. I may have to leave on a whim and go somewhere. I may forget. I may not even just feel like doing it. So it's important that you address those things. It's not something to frown upon. Address those flaws. And if you know you're not a consistent person with watering, figure out a way to address that. Set up a hydroponic system. Set up an irrigation system. Grow something that doesn't require as much water. You have options. Next up is going to be sunlight. Plants use light to photosynthesize. So they take the sunlight, they convert it just like solar panels, they convert it into energy, and then they use that to do the processes that they have to do, whether it's grow more leaves, whether it's to grow bigger, whether it's to grow more fruit or vegetables, whatever it is, they need that light to get everything done. When your plants don't have enough lighting, you're going to see certain deficiencies, like the leaves won't be as vibrant green. They may look yellow, pale, as well as stretchage. You may have lanky stems. So plants that usually are short might have long stems, maybe falling over. That's a sign that you're going to need to improve the lighting conditions for your plant. You're probably going to need a grow light. Grow lights are much cheaper now and they don't pull as much on your electricity bill as they used to back in the day. In fact, I have some grow lights over here that I highly recommend. I'll drop the link in the description. Had these for 2 years. I have so many now that I just have laying around that I'm actually lighting this video with the grow light. I messed up the lighting because I moved the grow station. So now I have to improvise until I get a new light. Next up is going to be nutrients. Just like us, plants need nutrients as well. Where they get this nutrients is usually their soil. Instead of doing compost and all that stuff, that you can get into that, but I'm not trying to make it complicated. I want you to get started today. I would recommend Happy Tree Frog, Fox Farms. I like those soils. Ideally, you get a decent soil. If you're in a pot, you're going to use potting soil. If you're in a garden, you use garden soil. Pretty straightforward. What I would recommend is to add more soil to the top of the base every now and then. That will keep nutrients going into your plant if you're growing in a pot or in an indoor situation. That would help tremendously. If you're growing hydroponically or growing your plants in water, you're going to want to buy nutrients. They sell hydroponic nutrients that you can easily use. Go to your local garden store or nursery or even online. It'll have instructions on the back for the amount that you need to put in for whatever you're growing based on the stage that the plant is growing in. Last thing is going to be temperature. So this matters if you're growing indoors or outdoor. If you're growing outdoor, there's not going to be much you can do about the temperature. But if you're growing indoor, chances are you're in the summertime, your house is not going to be too hot, as well as in the wintertime, it's not going to be too cold because we have conditions for ourselves. Growing outdoor, it's important to grow with the seasons. So what I would advise is to figure out what growing zone you're in if you're in the US. The USDA drops a list every few years or updates it every few years or so. That list is your growing zones. It's based off the climate that you're in, depending on what part of the US that you're in. I'm going to drop a link in the description as well for somewhere where you could plug in your zip code. It'll tell you what zone you're in. But don't stop there. What you're going to need to do is do further research after that. So I'm in 9A. I don't care if you go on ChatGPT, Google, you go and say 9A growing calendar or 8B, whatever zone you're in. Look up a growing calendar, and there's people who have been doing this for years. I'll tell you, hey, in June, you sow your corn, and in October, you sow your lettuce or your peas or whatever it is. That will help give you a guide to what to grow when and to help give you an idea on how to work with the seasons. Another point I want to push out when it comes to temperature is depending on what you're growing, Things could go to bolt. Say lettuce, for example. Lettuce will go to bolting if it gets too hot, which means they're going to shoot up a stem. They're not going to put out as many leaves, and they're going to work on producing seeds. The leaves that they actually do produce are going to be super bitter. They're going to have latex. It's going to taste awful. It's not going to be something you want. So it's important to consider temperatures depending on what you're growing. Even indoors right now, it's summertime where I'm at. I'm not going to grow lettuce until it starts to cool down, even with the AC. So that's just things to consider. I brought this up over here. Definitely got to do a self plug. I did a little short on how to make this with things that are laying around your house. Of course, I have a few other things like net cups, but you can use things around your house to improvise. Every time I leave town, this guy doubles in size. If you see I'm trying to get a good one, I'm not gonna lie. But if you see right here, this leaf is different compared to the new leaves that are coming in. This is Swiss chard, by the way. Swiss chard is known to be a hot weather leafy green. You typically grow it in the summertime, not the winter like some other leafy greens. But this guy doubles in size every time that I leave town because I don't have the AC on when I'm gone. It's 90, 95, 96 degrees in here. That heat, it loves it. When I'm back at home and I got the AC running, it doesn't put out as much production. Nevertheless, if you want to learn how to make this, go ahead and check out that quick short and make yourself one. That's all you really need to know. Our limitations are usually self-imposed. The walls that we see around us are the ones that we put up. Acknowledge the wall, acknowledge the problem, acknowledge the circumstance that you're in, but don't let that be your stopping point. Go ahead and figure out how to overcome or how to do what you want to do regardless of the circumstance. Don't say, I can't. Say, how can I? You know, I know it's cheesy, but I mean, with where I grew up and how I grew and how I've always been growing plants, it's always been being resourceful, working with what I have and figuring out ways to overcome the obstacles. Brief recap, decide where you want to grow, make a decision, choose a spot, and let's get it done. I don't care if it's a kitchen counter, kitchen cabinet, a closet, a corner, make the decision and get started. Take the time to assess that spot and understand the problems that you may face. Once you decide that space, make sure you're growing something that's practical for you, something that you like, something that's going to be worth the reward in the end. And lastly, make sure you're providing ideal conditions for your plant to thrive. If you don't have space, grow vertically. If you don't have sunlight, get a grow light. If you don't have a place for soil, grow hydroponically. If you don't have the right temperatures, grow with the seasons. Hopefully this video helps shift your perspective and open your mind to the possibilities that really lie before you. You can have a garden in the space where you are. If you have questions or trying to figure out how to get it done or overcome any obstacles, go ahead and drop a comment below and I'll be sure to help out. I think that's pretty much it. Resources in the description. Like, comment, subscribe, check out my other videos, hit the bell for notifications, all that good YouTube jazz. That is it. Remember, make sure you're always growing beyond limits. Peace.